July 29th, 2020. I'm Ben, and today's stream is going to be on the King's Indian games that I've played between 2003 and 2013. Not all the King's Indian games I've played, but some of my favorites. I would have many more games to show in this opening if I showed you games where I had the white pieces, but this is from Black's point of view, this stream. These are only games where I had the black pieces. With Black against d4, I play maybe 6 or 7 different openings. I play the Slav, I play the Chigorin, I play the Estonian or Baltic, play the Alban counter gambit, I've played the King's Indian, and I've played the closed Benoni. And it just feels, it's my mood normally. King's Indian's probably one of the most interesting, and these games are certainly interesting. So I decided to do that, and so on. Mainly, and so on. Let's see, what do I have to do? That's what I have to do. Hey Ben, saw you the front page. It's not really called the front page. Let's see, 85 bears. Let's see, refresh. Get my 0 viewers up there. Yep, it says 0. All right, good job, Twitch. All right. Thought Twitch was incompetent until I talked to the people who work at chess.com. All right. Yeah, my computer screen, that's right. I spelled Indian wrong. Why is in Dane game called Indian game? What? Huh? Let's see. All right, it's whenever I read the chat, I always wonder one thing when I'm done. Why did I read the chat? Thanks, Drew, for your subscription. Good, good. So as I said, hi to the YouTube people. A lot of the Twitch people aren't here yet. If you want to watch on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/GM Benjamin Finegold. One thing that we're making a change is we're going to upload the videos to YouTube within 24 hours. The tough days are going to be Monday and Thursday when Spencer doesn't work on Monday and Thursday. So my Sunday streams and my Wednesday stream, and this is my Wednesday stream, means that either Karen or I'll have to do slightly extra work. Slightly, but not much. So I think every stream I've done in the last 2 weeks is on YouTube now, or almost all of them. The one that I did last night is already up, and so forth. Mainly and so forth. Let's see. All right, chat still doesn't make any sense. All right, so let's talk about the games. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I like to play a lot of different openings so that I have some variety. And I'm talking about slow chess, obviously, and blitz and bullet. I play things that aren't openings. But so that when I'm playing somebody who's strong, they can't prepare for me easily since they won't know what opening I'm going to play. All right, so I didn't think this was the first game we were going to look at. Did I paste the wrong game? Probably. Yeah, this is the 4th game I want to look at. All right, so I did a good job preparing for the lecture. This is like the 3rd thing I've pasted because I kept changing my mind. Okay, this is the right game, I think. Actually, this isn't the right game. Wow. I blame control paste or control copy. Making copies. Yeah, I blame the, whoever invented computers. All right. Yeah, it's not pasting the right game. So it pasted the right game after my 5th try or so. Mainly, or so. Let's see. Now, Ferris will be later. These games are being shown in chronological order, although they might not be. So I'm trying. I'm failing miserably. Yeah, okay, this is correct. Okay, so I probably never played the King's Indian before the year 2000. And if I did, it was, I mean, like once a year or once every 2 years. But okay, in the 2000s and 2010s, I started playing it occasionally. Um, I have a lot of trouble remembering lots of theoretical lines unless I just looked at them. So, it's dangerous for me to play it against a good player. But normally, if I played it against a grandmaster, then I did preparation right before the game. Yeah. Okay, and again, this is black in the King's Indian, not white. So once again, the chat doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, so let's have a look. This is against Bob Schiaffoni, who's more known for poker than chess, although he has written more than one chess book. He's written poker books. He's also been the weightlifting champion at Notre Dame. He was one of the top 5 backgammon players in Michigan. He was one of the top 10 bridge players in Michigan. And I think he's 79 years old now, and he basically stopped playing everything. He doesn't play poker or chess anymore, unfortunately. Josh Gates subscribed with Twitch Prime. Exactly. Okay, so let's have a look. Bob likes to play a lot of theory. I've known Bob Schiaffoni for 40 years, and my dad probably knew him for 60 years. Okay, so this is the main line of the classical, which you would expect Bob to play, because he likes to play the main lines. And this is the main starting position of the classical variation. And in some of the lessons, when I was teaching chess, I would ask my students, what moves do you think look reasonable for white? And grandmasters have played 4 moves here, although bishop g5 is pretty rare, but it was played occasionally in the 80s by some American players, not necessarily GMs. But the other moves are more common, knight e1, knight d2, and b4. And most of my students rated under 2000 who didn't know this position would never suggest moves like this. And they would suggest a move like that, which is bad, or this, which is bad, or h3, which is bad. Yeah, they would just suggest bad moves. And then luckily their lessons were free because they got scholarships from Michael Jackson. Perhaps that's why they were playing so bad. It was weird too, when I asked them which position they preferred here, they said it didn't matter if they were black or white here. So that was weird. Okay, now go subscribers. We almost have 1,900 subs, but not quite. Okay, so one of the things white wants to do is advance on the queen side because he has more space on the queen side, and black wants to checkmate white on the king side. So a lot of times when black plays f5, white responds with f3 to keep his center safe, which is why he moves his knight here. And the other reason is when these pawns start going forward, then the white knight can come into c4 or d3, depending on where you move your knight. Okay, he played knight to d2. That's fine. The main move here is actually c5 to try to prevent white from advancing on the queen side. What's funny is against knight e1, nobody plays c5. And against knight d2, c5 is considered the main move. The mysteries of life. Okay, and he wants to play b4, so he played a3. And I want to play f5, so I played knight e8. And we did what we said we were going to do. And now he made a move which I feel is slightly premature. I think he should continue to improve his position. He could play knight b3 or bishop b2. But he took immediately on c5. And I could take either way, but I thought it would be less theoretical and more confusing if I took with the d-pawn, even though technically probably taking with the d-pawn is worse. But I took with the d-pawn anyway. And when you play knight e8 and you take with the d-pawn, obviously you want to play knight to d6. Now the problem with taking with the d-pawn is it creates a target for white to attack on b6, white can play a4, a5, and open up the queen side further. And obviously white has a passed pawn. Okay, so he did play a4, and I did play knight d6, and he did play a5, and I played bishop to d7, developing my last piece. And once again, I believe he should build. So he should do some move that improves his position, but he took on b6, which isn't terrible. It's okay. And he traded, and he played knight to b3, which is also okay. And the engine always likes white, and that's one thing you're going to have to realize if you ever use an engine to study openings. Generally, you want to start as late as possible because there's a lot of Grandmaster games and a lot of opening books, and the top players have figured out what to do the first 10, 15 moves, and the engines are usually very biased in whose position they like in a lot of different openings. And this is probably the worst. Of all the openings in chess that you've heard of that have names that grandmasters play, this one computers think is the worst. King's Indian, every variation, every main line, the computer says white's doing great. So this game, the engine says white's up between 0.5 and 1.2, like the whole time, because white has a big space advantage, and the long-term prospects that black has, and the difficulty that white has improving his position are foreign to the computer. You told the computer in 15 moves white's king's going to be unsafe, computer's like, psh. And if you tell the computer, hey, I'm rated 1700, I don't know what to do with white, how do I improve my game? Computer's like, psh. Okay, and even looking at the computer moves, it's not clear what the computer's doing. It's moving around randomly and just saying white's doing great. And this is a good opening to play if you need to win because of its asymmetricalness, okay? Inventing words on the stream. And I like winning, and I like dags. Now, the positions I like the most are in chess, not in the King's Indian, are ones where I have an advantage, I prefer my position, and I'm eliminating my opponent's counterplay so that it's a very pleasant kind of evening for me, which would match the kind of people like Carlsen and Karpov. Except, I play 400 points worse than them. Now, the second best way I like to play is confusing, because if it's confusing, I assume that I'm not worse because it's confusing. So positions that I like, where I'm slightly better and my opponent has very little counterplay, I dislike for the other side. So when I'm black, if I have black in some solid passive opening, which a super GM might draw with relative ease because of their opening knowledge and their great defensive skills, that's not really what I'm looking for. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Soviet Britain subscribed. Sell me your children. Yeah, that's a good scene from Blues Brothers. Okay, so finally I played F5. Hooray for Ben. And my opponent played F3, which is, the usual move against F5 in a King's Indian. Engine doesn't play it, but, it's a normal move. Still says white's better. I played F4. The engine doesn't like that move because it doesn't think I'm going to mate him. And now he made a very poor move. And I think the reason he made this poor move was he didn't know what to do. So he did something. And this is a big weakness of a lot of people, including some strong grandmasters, is they feel the need to do something, okay? As opposed to the terrible movie Top Gun, where they feel the need for something else. So you don't have to do anything in chess. You can slowly improve your position. And if you turn on an engine it makes random legal moves for white, like bishop b2, and knight d2, and queen b3, and just makes random moves. It says white's better, because white has a passed pawn on d5 and more space on the queen side, and black's bishop on g7 isn't very good. And black has a very simple plan of just pushing the pawns on the king side. g5, h5, g4, Papa John's. Okay, and so he broke one of the Finegold rules here by advancing pawns in front of his king. He played g3. Okay, this is a bad move. And actually, after g3, the engine already likes black. It already prefers black's position. Okay, and I think in 8 moves, I was like plus 27, which is better than equal. I'm new here. Let's see. I'm new here. Okay. Oh, why am I reading the chat? Okay, why not g4? Oh, all right. G4 would be better than g3. Right. Okay, so I played g5, and I'm pretty sure the next move is losing, although I can't prove it. Probably g4 is the right move here, and then, I play h5, and my knight on d6 is great. I start attacking on the king side. And black is slightly better because I have more chances of breaking through than he does. But g4, I think, is virtually forced here. And he touched the right piece with the wrong square. He played g takes f. Okay, now I don't know the answer to this question. I do know what I did. Which move do you think is better? Taking with the G pawn or taking with the E pawn? Oh, surprise, it's rook takes everything's changed. No. So one of these moves is the right move, but which one? We can vote on it in the chat. Man, the chat's dumb today. Yeah. I don't mean your moves are dumb, your chat's dumb. Let's see. If E takes F4 is right, I want to be wrong. Don't worry, you're wrong a lot. Yeah, that's true. Karen's not chatting. Let's see why Karen's not chatting. All right. So I know what I did. Let's see what the engine says. The engine says it's clear. It says one move is 0.59 for black and one's 2. 2's better than half. So it's E takes. Right. And with E takes, you can continue your onslaught. You open up the bishop and you get the E5 square for the knight. So it's pretty clear E takes is better. It's not even close. After G takes, we can't attack anymore with our pawns, and our bishop is blocked forever. So if you said G takes, terrible. E takes is correct. Okay, and the engine now thinks that white's losing. G3 was bad, and G takes F4 is bad. The moves just keep coming. Bad move, bad move, bad move. White's position falls like a house of cards. It's like dominoes. Checkmate. Let's see. All right. Mandelbaum is correct. Okay. So my opponent played bishop d2. Since his knight's attacked, not the best way to defend it. Knight g6, obviously, going to e5. Queen c2, very passive. Rook a1, attacking my queen. Forcing my queen over to the king side where I can mate him. Knight d1. Now, I would like to point out that material is equal because material is equal. And it's my turn, and the engine says I'm plus 10. So that would indicate his g3, g takes f4 wasn't good. Yeah. Okay, I continued the onslaught, g4. He took, always play f3, always play bishop f1. Knight takes g4, knight e3, queen g6, threatening double, triple, quadruple discovered checkmate. He played e5, attacking my knight, and discovered attacking my queen. I don't want to trade queens. Every move is winning. I played knight e4, and I'm plus 25 or 30 here. And here plus 67, plus 73. These aren't jokes. Mate in 17. So the engine actually announces mate here at depth 23, mate in 16. So after knight e4, he resigned. So in that game, I got a big attack on his king. He got nothing on the queen side. And I think the culprit was he played g3 and g takes f4, although he never did anything incredibly stupid, like, oh my God, you hung your queen, you hung mate, you missed that. It's just strategically, he made several errors, which made him get a losing position very quickly from an equal position. This is the reason why the people who do play the King's Indian, it's why they play the King's Indian. Because if white makes any kind of error, black can get a mating attack out of nowhere, which is what happened this game. And obviously, if I'm playing somebody lower rated than me, substantially in this instance, I don't want to have some boring equal position where I'm trying to, get something out of nothing. I'd like to get some difficult position where neither one of us may play the engine moves, but I'll play better than he will because it's too complicated. And this is why players like Kasparov, Fischer, Hikaru, etc., Radjabov, play the King's Indian to get those kind of messy positions that put a lot of pressure on their opponent. And that's why I played it occasionally. Also, it's easy to show games you won when you only show games you win. I could have actually set up games that I lost and showed you why the King's Indian sucks. But I don't want to do that. All right, we need 9 subscribers to get to 1,900. Hooray. How would I finish here? Well, it's not my move, but I mean, like this is checkmate, and this is checkmate, and this is checkmate. If king h1, this is checkmate, and this is checkmate. It's checkmate. Yeah. I mean, I'm threatening knight f2, checkmate. So I don't know. Knight takes knight check, wins all of his pieces, and checkmates him. So I don't know what you want. Every move is checkmate. The engine announces mate in 10 if white plays perfectly. If white doesn't play perfectly, it's earlier. The best move is bishop to g2. The second best move is sacking the queen. And this is the third best move, knight to g2. Is that right? That's not too good. Oh. And so on. $1,001 centidues. Checkmate is the best move. All right. All right. Oh, why am I reading the chat? I don't get paid enough for this. Okay, the next game I'm going to show you was against Grandmaster Anatoly Lane, R.I.P. He died about a year ago. This game was played when he was still alive. And this was played in 2004 in the Chicago Open. I actually beat Lane twice in the Chicago Open, but not the same year. Yeah, he went to old school. He was always old. Yeah, strange. Yeah. It's Karen. Oh yeah, these streams are great. Okay, so Lane's white, and he played the G3 line in the King's Indian. Most grandmasters like to transpose into some Grunfeld here with either D5 or C6 and D5. And I play the line that Joel Benjamin plays against the King's Indian, which is not a good line, but I know it and my opponents don't. Because, I think Joel's the only grandmaster who plays it. So, I mean, there's a lot of good lines here for black, but not the ones that I did. So I like to play bishop f5 and knight e4, which is unusual. And the problem is if you play bishop out too early, you can get in trouble here. So normally you preface it with c6 and then bishop f5. And you're trying to play knight e4 and your bishop gets out and you trade the knights, your knight has a square, etc. Okay, he played, now I lost a horrible game in this line to Michael Molyar in Foxwoods last year. That's the worst I've ever been beat ever by anybody ever. Man, I mean, that's, okay. If I ever show you a game on the worst games I've ever lost in the King's Indian, that would be the first one. That was played a little over a year ago at Foxwoods. I think he played knight h4, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. He might have played rook e1. He played knight h4. Anyway, he played b3 lane, knight e4, bishop b2. And the point of getting rid of the knight on c3 for black is to play bishop e4 and thwart his bishop. I thwart you. And then the bishop is hard to remove from e4. He played queen to d2. I developed my knight. And he played the very standard bishop h3, which confuses all of my students. So what white wants to do is play knight g5, and my bishop doesn't really have anywhere to go. If he plays knight g5 earlier, or knight anywhere, then I take his bishop on g2, but I can't take his bishop on g2 because it's not there. So if it was his move, I think knight g5 would be quite good. So I took his knight, and he's a grandmaster, so he gets the two bishops. What else? Okay, and strategically, I think you have to play d5 here, because you want to, in this pawn structure, like this, white's always playing for e4, which he can't play e4. There's no e-pawn. So if this pawn on d4 stays here forever, it's weak. It can't be protected by another pawn, and it's blocking the bishop. It's just sort of silly. So d5 is strategically correct. And after rook e1, I was very proud of myself on what I did here. Very proud. I've never been so proud. And maybe I have once. Yeah, so this is really cool what I did here. So normally this would be a boring position, and I could play like e6, and it's boring. Just equal. But actually black's better here, and I played better than that. Better than perfect. So this is a good strategical puzzle for masters and grandmasters and stuff. Black to play and get an advantage. And I think most moves are just boring equality. But actually I can do something here that looks strategically suspect, but it's actually good. So I actually did something good in my life. E5 question mark is correct. All right, chat makes no sense. Still no trains. That makes no sense. Questions don't make any sense. Man, everything's spelled wrong. Terrible. All right. Worst chat ever. All right, even the moves you're suggesting are bad. Yeah. Okay, the correct answer is D takes C4. And the idea is if he recaptures, which he did not, then I play knight B6, threatening his pawn. Now he'll do something about it. He'll play C5 or bishop F1 or queen D3. It doesn't matter what he does. Whatever he does about it, Then I play knight a4, and I have the advantage. So, well, the engine plays c5, so we'll do that. Knight a4. He can't move his bishop off this diagonal because his d-pawn's hanging. Whoa. What the hell happened here? That was funny. I clicked something I wasn't supposed to click. All right. I was scared for a second. I don't know what that was. Sometimes when you're on a web page, you click something by accident, and then like the whole universe is destroyed, and then you have to get out of that. That's what happened there. There was all kinds of code and CIA secrets and stuff. Yeah. All right. So obviously I want to take this bishop and hammer this pawn, and that's why the engine wants white to play c5, because if I play knight a4 and then c5, I'm really killing him on this diagonal. My opponent didn't like that, so he played bishop takes d7. And obviously, black is better here. White's got double pawns, hanging pawns, d-pawn's weak, and black has no weaknesses. So the engine already says black has a big advantage. Now, what white needs to do is play d5 and trade everything. As long as there's trades of pawns and bishops, eventually it'll be a draw. If white never plays d5, d4 is permanently weak, c4 is permanently weak, Papa John's. So I played e6, making sure he could never play d5. Rook a d1. I played rook fe8. And obviously you can see in your head, these kinds of tricks, where, rook e1 check would win, so forth. You guys can see that. Exactly. I'll give you an example. This isn't forced. I'm just trying to give you an example as like something fun. Just a fun exercise for you guys. And then rook e1 check. Something like that. See, that was the most fun you ever had. Okay. Although after d5, this just wins a pawn. Just cleanly wins a pawn. Not up a pawn. Pass pawn too. Okay, so he played king g2. It gets his king off the back rank, and it defends his f3 pawn. Very grandmasterly. Very old Soviet school. Soviet Britain knows what I'm talking about. Let's see. Read the chat again. Big mistake. Okay. b5 triple exclam plus tax. That's the key move, because now he can never play d5, and I'm going to get the d5 square. If he trades, I'll get 2-1 on the queen side. This pawn's weak, etc. White's position is so bad, the engine wants to play d5 and sack a pawn and say that white's worse. Okay, now here, what did he do? He panicked. Yeah, he got scared, and he went totally insane. And Lane becoming insane in the membrane, that's a very rare occurrence. Very rare. Yeah. So normally Lane is a very boring, solid positional player. So in the rare instances where he's getting outplayed and he knows his position is strategically bad, he figures maybe tactics can save him. So he played h4, putting it in h, and after it takes, he played h5. This is another reason to play king g2. Maybe he'll play rook h1 and he'll checkmate me. Maybe Trump's a great president. Maybe. Okay, so I played rook a b8 because I want my rook on this nice open file, not on a8. He put it in h. I saw my bishop was attacked, so I moved it. And then he played the move that shook the world. So if you were alive in 2004 and you remember this big earthquake, it was because of this move. Anatoly Lane shook the world now. He played a move you would never dream of, and it's the engine move. d5, confusing the audience. I hope you're confused. That's right, d5. The audience is less confused than usual. So he wants to mate me. He wants to trade bishops, and he wants to get his queen to g7. Okay, I played c takes d5 because even in 2004, I knew about connect 4. Now, some of you may be crazy. In your head, you're like, wait a minute. Bishop takes bishop on h8, king takes, queen to the diagonal check, and then queen g7 mate. That's a good policy. Yeah. And that's what he did. And then never play f6. And when he takes it, king g8, and my queen defends g7. And I still got this nice pawn chain here. I'm up material, and my king's pretty safe. Pretty safe. And I got 2 connected passed pawns, 1 for each of them. My rook's on the open line. He's got this isolated pawn. All right. All right, he retreated his queen, queen d4, blockading. Rook e3, rook b6. He doesn't do anything. I want to trade queens. He's like, nope. And then I played rook b8, which is the best move. So why didn't I take on a2? Why is rook b... Oh, rook takes a2 is another good move. All right. Rook b8's better, supposedly. Rook d2, queen f8. Always take this pawn on h6. And he played f5. Basically, he can't win any of my pawns because I'm defending them. So he played another crazy f5. That's also the engine move. If I take with the e pawn, rook e8 is annoying. So I took with the g pawn. And king f7. I think that's better than king h8. That says they both win. Yay, look at my pawns. See how exciting it is? Queen g8. Queening also wins. The problem is, even in the worst case scenario, if he wins a rook, I'm going to queen this pawn. Like if he trades queens and then he's like, I win a rook. Okay, well, I'm queening. So you don't have time for that. So he checked. Rook f6. Check. And I just take it. And I queen. Hooray! Go Ben. And now with no pieces left, he decided to resign. Good choice, good choice. Surprisingly, the engine says I'm ahead 63. I always thought a rook was worth 5. All right, it says 63. What's funny is, after queen g7, I'm 63. After this, it announces mate. Yeah, harsh, tough computer. All right, so that was an exciting game where basically the reverse happened of what usually happens in the King's Indian, which is I got a positional advantage. I was attacking his weak pawns in the center, and he went all out for a kingside attack, hoping that that would work or I would mess up or that would distract me. But none of that happened. So that was one of my better games because my opponent went crazy when his position was worse instead of having that worst position and trying to draw, which is no fun when you're white. When you're black, all right, maybe. Something. Okay, the next game was played also in 2004, just a month later. And we did something that I like to do. We got out of theory immediately, which is what I like to do. And I was going to tell you a story about Ferris, but then I realized that it wasn't the game we were looking at. Now, it turned out he prepared a lot for this game because yesterday he had the day off. What's that? Oh, sorry, that's another Ferris. 1001 Centidues from Drew. That was another Ferris, sorry. Now, Ferris Gabara, confusing the audience, used to be named Ferris Georgis, Jirjis. And I guess I beat him so much, he changed his name. But then I beat him more, and then he stopped playing chess. His USCF rating, and I've known him for over 30 years, 40 years, was always between 2,000 and 2220. He did make master, but usually he was in 2000s. Usually. Yeah. Let's see. No one could say Ferris, right? Okay, so let's look at the King's Indian. Transposition. All right. And we have this normal position where we'll just pretend that white played knight here, and then bishop g5. So Varakobian used to play this a lot with white, as did Bill Paschal and me, and e3 is the main move. He played e4. So now we're playing a classical with the move bishop g5 instead of bishop e2. Normally, when they play bishop g5, they preface it with bishop e2 instead of knight f3. So he's sort of mixing his systems. And one reason is to stop knight h5 because the bishop on e2 protects it. Pablito R98 gifted a sub. Good, good. Okay, so if you learn nothing else today, and you won't, in another train, in the King's Indian, when white moves out his bishop, either to f4 or g5, it would behoove you to play c5 instead of e5. And that way your queen can get out and you can attack the weaknesses over here and your bishop gets to be open on the diagonal instead of here. It's hard to get this checkmate attack going when the guy's bishop's on g5 pinning your knight and protecting his king. So when they move their bishop here, it's profitable to play c5 rather than e5. And that's what I did. d5, queen a5, threatening his e-pawn. The engine doesn't like queen a5. He played queen to d2, and I played e6. I want to open the center because his king's on e1, and I've castled. Makes sense. 100 centidues from Mepex. 100 centidues from formerly 5IT. 100 centidues from J Copper. Ooh, that's some dirty money he's giving me. Thanks, Dirty Copper. Troy Haskin gifted 5 subs. So the question is, do we have 1,900 subs yet? Well, the other question is, can I spell stats? 1897. Close enough. For those of you who don't come to my channel often, or you too many drugs to remember, I used to have 3,000 subs, and then I didn't. Man. All right, then I went down to 1,000. Now we're working our way back with a burning love inside. Okay, I should spin in my chair. Go spinners. Okay, now, I like to insult you. You guys know that. And this isn't an insult, it's just the truth. And it's not even meant to insult. It just sounds like it's an insult. There are moves that low-rated players are attracted to. There are moves that high-rated players are attracted to. Sometimes the moves that are attractive to low-rated players are better. So when Magnus Carlsen has mate in 3 or mate in 4 and doesn't play it and plays some boring win, he doesn't really care. But when you guys have a mate in 3 and don't play it, you're like, I had mate in 3, because then you lose the game and you're like, I could have won the game. Magnus still wins the game. He didn't. Okay, so in this position, a high-rated player is attracted to developing his bishop and then castling, because that's what we like to do. Low-rated players like to rip their shirt off, Hulk style, scream as loud as they can, sack all of their pieces, have everybody throw the gold on the board, and then before leaving, every woman gives you their phone number. And what's funny about that scenario is, even though it's fantasy, the phone numbers are still all fake. It's a terrible, sorry. Okay, that's what the low-rated players are looking for. Okay, now my opponent is lower rated than me. He's the lowest rated player in this group of games. So he makes one of those moves. He makes one of the super aggressive, super wild, super tactical moves that may be good. It's not good, but it might be. D. Harneck subscribed. Good. Okay. So What move would be the one I'm describing to you? What's a really aggressive, crazy looking move that a high rated player might not even think of? And it might be good. It's not good here, but it's not bad. It's just not good. There we go. Rufus and Doofus. He has the proper name for finding a move that would be beloved by Rufus and Doofus. Okay? He played knight b5. That's not a terrible move. The engine says that's fine. He's attacking my pawn. Exactly. RPM 549 subscribed. Let's not forget Broman, who gave 1 cent. Now, if I trade queens and then he recaptures, not only is he threatening the pawn, he's threatening knight c7 and my rook's trapped. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Right. Yeah, I mean, knight c7 is all good. So I play queen b6. And now he did it again, Britney Spears style. And the engine says it's one of the top moves. It's not the top move. The top engine move is knight c3. That's the top engine move. Also, I'm not kidding. That's the top engine move. Okay, he played a move that would be hard for me to consider, but it's attractive to a low-rated player. You guys are low-rated, you're going to love it. You'd be like, oh man, if I saw that move, I would also play it. Let's see in the chat if anybody's chatting it up. Yeah, nobody's chatting it up. Knight b5 again. Good answer, Soviet Britain. All right. LV20 SWD is right, even though his notation is wrong. He still knows the right move. Or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Oh, no, he doesn't. He meant pawn. Never mind. No, nobody has the right move. Boo, boo. Okay, he played knight takes d6. Confusing my audience since none of my audience suggested it. Also, don't forget about the train. Yeah, the engine doesn't like that move. Now, I've yelled at Karen before, and I'll yell at her again, except I don't really yell at her. She just says I yell at her. What a lot of low-rated players do is as soon as they see a move, they focus in on that move. So the only move you guys would consider for black would be queen takes d6. Queen takes d6 is okay. It's not terrible, but you have to consider lots of different moves because it's a chess game. 501 centidues from Drew, 200 centidues from Pinky Jim, putting us at 99%. 99. And then Drew put us over the top with 201, and Troy Haskin put us over the top again with 400. Okay. Exactly. So queen takes d6 is okay, and the line suggested by Hits Crits is actually the main line of queen d6, which is e5, knight e4, ed6, knight d2, knight d2, and it says white is very slightly better. Now it says black is very slightly better. Now it says it's equal. Now it says white's better. Okay, so it's about equal. All right, I didn't play queen takes d6. I played a better move. Abe Froman, 4444, has subscribed for 2 months. That sausage is really paying off. Okay, I played e takes d5. And obviously, I like when the center's opening up because my opponent's king is on e1. If he plays knight takes c8 and I take back, e4 is not protected. Right now, e4 is protected. So this isn't easy. Okay, he played bishop takes f6, which is the engine move. I took. He played e5, which is also the engine move. And now I did it again. The engine doesn't play my move, but I like my move. I like my move a lot. The engine says that black is better after bishop takes e5. Then it says knight takes c8, queen f6. Wow, queen f6 is a cool move. Wow. That's probably why I didn't do it. I didn't see queen f6. Although I might have seen queen f6, but I doubt it. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Bishop takes, knight takes queen f6. That's pretty awesome. The knight's trapped. And I'm threatening bishop takes b2 and rook takes c8. And it says it's equal. Okay. I played bishop g4, which the engine does not play. The engine likes white now. And he played the move the engine wants him to play. Not only did he do that, he played all the engine moves. So when you play the King's Indian, this is what you're looking for. A total mess of a position. And the theory is, this is the theory, if you're a grandmaster and you're playing other grandmasters, you want to have a safe advantage for white, win half your games, draw half your games. With black, you want a messy position, everybody's confused, and you score 50% with black. Then you win tournaments. Okay? And when you're black and you're a grandmaster, occasionally you play people who aren't grandmasters and you need to win. If Magnus is black and he's playing me, he needs to win. He can't be like, oh, I drew Ben, but it's okay, I was black. So the King's Indian is good because when we get this position, Magnus is salivating. He's like, oh man, I see a million moves ahead in every variation, and Ben's an old man, so I'm going to be 10 pieces up soon. So he's pretty happy. Now, conversely, my opponent, who's low rated, just played one engine move after another here. And still, he lost in 30 moves because the position's so complicated. All right, 901 centidues. Thanks, Drew. All right, good poll, good poll. No wins. Man, I guess I offer... You know, what's funny is Karen gets me fries more than I get her fries. So I don't know if the poll's accurate. Yeah. I don't know. Very suspicious. Yay, 900 centidues. All right, the type train's ending. Okay, now according to the engine, my opponent has one move that gives him the advantage, and he played it. C takes d5. And the reason is, when I take on f3, and now it looks like I'm taking on e5, he plays the very strong move, knight c4, attacking my queen, and both of my bishops are attacked. Now, I am a piece up, but okay. Queen d8 is correct. Taking on f3 is correct. b5 is correct. It's like two engines are playing here. Drew gave 5 subs. You got to give 110%. Okay, now the engine actually says his move is the best here. E takes f6, b takes c4. Every move we played in that super complicated position was the first engine move, including long castling. So this is funny. My opponent played the opening reasonably. He played like 7 engine moves in a row, and soon he resigns. The chess is hard. Okay, queen f6 is the engine move. Bishop c4 is the engine move. Knight d7 is the engine move. And white's up a pawn, although isolated pawn, doubled pawns, isolated pawn, open b file to his king, nice squares for my knight, hanging pawn. You could argue black's better here. The engine says white's killing it. White's up 1.2. Okay? And the reason is it likes that passed pawn. God damn. It says the king is safe, pass pawn, extra pawn, Papa John's. Okay? And it wants to play rook he1. And in a mere 12 moves, my opponent gives up. He plays h4, putting it in h. The engine already says black is fine. I didn't want him to play h5, so I played h5, which the engine does not like. Queen g5. I don't want to trade queens. Queen g5 is not good because it weakens b2. Now I threaten mate in 1. And he plays rook d2, which he doesn't want to play. Now, we talked about this on previous streams, including yesterday, and including this game. This game, when my opponent played knight b5, the engine wanted him to put his knight back on c3, which psychologically, who's going to do that? When I showed Sicilian games a couple days ago, my opponent played knight b5 in the opening, And he should have played knight c3, but he played knight d4 because he didn't want to move his knight back and forth. So here, the engine says it's equal if he defends mate with queen d2. Now, this game was played many years ago when I was very adept tactically. Now, I don't even know whose turn it is. I don't know what building I'm in. Why is it so hot in here? Okay, who are you people? But then I was really sharp. Up cable gave 175 centitudes. So now you will know my name is the Lord when I play this move. You hear me talking? I ain't through with this stream by damn sight. So what move did I play? And this was the first time in my life I said, gotcha, bitch. And then Dave Chappelle stole it. That is correct. The ultimate Potzer and Centipede. Bam! Oh, snap. You thought you defended B2, but you did not. And now I had to sign some paperwork from the Guinness Book of World Records to prove that my opponent had the worst pawn structure ever. Very suspicious. Yeah, when you defend B2 and the guy takes on B2, that's very disconcerting. And the obvious variation which happened is rook takes, queen c3 check. I tried to attack more pieces, but I couldn't legally do it. I guess I could attack that if some kids are watching. I don't know. Okay, he played king b1, always play king b1. The engine prefers king d1, losing this rook. Never trade queens. Always repeat. I do good at repeating. Yeah, my king's safe and his isn't. Yeah, this is a blunder. Queen takes... Now, by the way, I want to explain something to you guys. When I was between like 19 and 35, this kind of tactic, man, was I good at that. Now I would just fall into it and lose. Now I don't see anything. So like here, to know why queen takes c5 is bad is pretty high level. But I was good at tactics when I was, however old I was here. I knew he couldn't play queen takes c5. Problem is, I got a lot of threats here. So he's losing. I'm +4 here. The reason this loses is I go here, which anybody can see. And then he obviously, if he doesn't want to lose a piece, plays here. But that's even worse. So now what's the winning move for black? Much better when I was an IM. Yeah. Everybody here is new to the stream. Good, good. Now you're schmoopy. Bad move, Ben. Put the exclam before the move. That's how good it is. Queen f5 check. It's not just a random check. It wins his rook. Because his king is on this diagonal. It has 3 legal squares, and they all hang the rook to a check. If you see what I'm saying. Did you see what I'm saying? That kind of tactic, when I played knight b6, I used to be good at stuff like that. I'm like, well, he can't take, because I go here, here, check, and I pick up the rook. Then they would do it anyway, so I win a lot of games against low-rated players. You know. And then he resigned because the engine says I'm +14. It's hard actually not to lose all of these pieces because it's take them, you know, keep taking them. King's no good. Yeah. Hooray, my king was safe the whole game. Bam, that's correct. Could he have taken on a7 instead? Well, his bishop's hanging. So no. He could have, but I take his bishop. See, this move not only wins a pawn, it defends his bishop. If his bishop moves off of this diagonal, then this pawn's attacked, or knight a4 could be good. And if you play bishop b3, c4. So he thought this did everything. Defends this, wins a pawn, Papa John's. He thought this was great. It turns out queen c3 also wins immediately. Yeah, and queen here, everything wins immediately. Everything wins. Yeah. Everybody hurts sometimes. Bishop d3 only loses a bishop. I mean, the engine says I'm plus 1,015 billion. He is losing a bishop, but his king can't escape, the checkmating attack. I mean, he's getting mated over here. Also, the sentence only loses a bishop is confusing for a grandmaster. See, like when Karpov used to analyze with Kasparov didn't say, if I go here, I only lose a bishop. So that's successful. All right. Very suspicious. I don't know any theories. I forgot what I memorized. Too old. Okay, back to chess space. All right. Now we're going to get to 2 U.S. championship games. This first game's against Stephen Muhammad. And actually, at this tournament, and I've told this story before, we went out to eat, several of us, and the person who seats you at the restaurant, the hostess, I don't know, server, said, did you want a booth or a table? And I said, we'll have a Muhammad. And then Joel Benjamin thought that was funny. The other people in my party didn't get it. But Stephen Muhammad used to be named Stephen Booth, then he changed his name. So if you ever played Stephen Booth in the 80s, and the 2000s and later, he was Stephen Muhammad. He actually used to live in Georgia. Now I don't know I think he's a minister. I don't think he plays chess anymore. I recommend nothing. Yeah, play chess. Laszlo Damas subscribed. God damn. Okay, now I did specific preparation this game because this was a U.S. championship, and my opponent always played the same line against the King's Indian. I didn't play the King's Indian very often, so I was ready. So instead of he played the same-ish variation. It's all the same-ish to me. I've played different stuff against this, and this game I played the Pano with knight c6, a6, and rook b8. And this is a main variation for black. Lots of the super grandmasters play it. But this is the only game that I've ever played it. And I did very specific preparation for this game. Okay, he played d5. I saw it, attacking his c-pawn. And he played queen c1, and I forked his king and queen. Oh, snap. And then I said, gotcha. Okay, he played knight g3, defending his pawn. c5, f4, knight g4. I'm not sure if I prepared this, probably. Put it in h. Always want to play h4. Okay, so as my dad would like to say, both sides stand badly. Neither person's position makes any sense. The engine likes white, but white's a bit overextended. White's pushing all of his pawns, but I'm ready to play h4, e6, b5, and what's he supposed to do with his king? The engine wants to play bishop to d3, bishop to e3, and then castle. He played a4, stopping b5. Fine. And I played e6. He doesn't want me to take and play rook e8 like in a Benoni, so he took, trying to keep the center closed a little. Now I'm threatening his pawn, and the engine says that he's worse here, because this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My pieces are all out at least. He castled, sacking a pawn, but then he gets his pawn back, and the endgame is good for black. Knight h5, not bad, not good. Bishop f2 is good. I win a pawn. I still play b5. 2 knights against 2 bishops, but I have an extra pawn. I'm threatening this pawn. I'm threatening this bishop. Papa John's. Bishop e3 was played. Takes, king h7. So we have a double rook ending where I have an extra pawn. He has 3 weak pawns, and obviously his king has no shelter at all. I'm not winning, but I'm better. King c2, rook e8, e5, letting my knight out. e5's a mistake, obviously. Time trouble. Rook b6, exclam, former muscle. King g8, g5, double exclam. Then I get a skewer. Material's equal, but I have a big advantage now. Knight g3. And I think king c1 is the losing move. That's right. Always play king b1. We got Mr. Brightside subscribed. King c1 is a very instructive blunder. It's move 34. He's definitely in time trouble. Now his king and bishop are lined up for a knight fork. So he should have played king b1. Probably would have drawn the game. Now he's just losing because I'm going to either take his rook or play knight check. So he has to take my knight. And this is just winning. This pawn's weak. This pawn's queening. His king's trapped on the back rank. And this pawn's just too strong. He played rook e1, which is correct. g2. He doubled up on the bubble up. I threatened checkmate. Funny threat. He stopped it. Always repeat. And I doubled up on the bubble up. And the reason he doesn't have perpetual is my king can run over here. Or if he uses both rooks, over here. If he doesn't have perpetual, I'm winning because rook e2 mate is a good move. But if he checks just one rook, so my king can't come up, my king can saunter over here. If he checks with both rooks, so my king can't saunter away, then I can do the song about the sweet loving woman and walk of life. And that's what happened. And he traded rooks. He tried to queen his h-pawn, but trying is the first step to failure. All right, now you all know Lucina and or Lucena's position, and you know how to do like the building a bridge and all that. And by saying that, I mean, I know you don't know how to do it. Now, in the Lucena position, with the pawn on the 7th and your king is trapped and such, your king is trapped because it can't move to the left or the right because the king is stopping it one way and the rook is stopping it the other way. So what you have to do is check the king away, move your king out, block with your rook. Okay. However, in this position, he just took my pawn. His rook's not trapping my king. So I just played rook b6. I want to play king here and queen my pawn. I don't need to know any technique. King there and queen my pawn. And here he resigned. If he moves his king over, I can either queen and win, or I could check his king away and win. Doesn't matter. Winning is winning. And I could also do it other way around. So after king b2, he resigned. Papa John's. So that game was very sharp, where black was always better, but not winning, but clearly better. And eventually, in time trouble, white messed up and lost. Truth hurts. But as you can see from those games, and we haven't looked at my favorite King's Indian game yet, you get positions that are wild and crazy, and you expect the better player would win, and you would expect there wouldn't be a lot of draws. So if you're black and you need to win, King's Indian's a good opening. Now we'll look at my favorite game. It was played in the U.S. Championship against a guy who never loses with white in a U.S. Championship, ever, to anybody, except me. So he was very mad after the game, number one, because he lost, and number two, at some point he was probably winning. But that's what happens in the King's Indian. Sometimes winning and losing is move by move because the position's too complicated. King d2. White's king is on e6 instead. That sounds like a joke. Did you change your playing style? Yes, I play much worse now. I changed my style. All right. Okay, so this is, what year was this game? 2013 in St. Louis. It was a King's Indian. And I played my secret illegal preparation, c6. Because I don't think Yuri's faced c6. I've never played c6. So this way, I'll know what to do and he won't. And I looked at all the lines where you play d5 and knight e4 and all that. He probably looked at them before I was born and forgot them. So he played bishop d3, which is not a move you normally want to play in the King's Indian because you weaken your d-pawn. The bishop is hitting here. You're not blocking the pin. But I can't play d5 and knight e4 because I'll just lose a pawn. I mean, now I'm not, I'm not defended here sufficiently. I have to move somewhere stupid. So his idea was I can't play d5, knight e4, so all my prep was for naught. So I just played d6, and I figure I'll play a regular King's Indian, but he's played this move, which isn't so good. And then I played bishop g4, since I can attack this weak pawn, and he played bishop e2. And this is very funny. So we've transposed into a known position, except he's lost a tempo, and my free move is c6, which isn't very important, because in this variation, black almost always plays c5. So that's actually pretty funny. Like, I'm going to play c6, c5, he's going to play bishop d3, bishop e2, so neither one of us has gained anything, except I've played a line that I don't really play. I've played it with white, not with black. Okay, so here, c5, d5, knight a6. And white's better. And now he played a move that I thought was very odd, and he thought was very normal. He thought this was the most obvious move, and no other move makes any sense. And I was like, what? Now, I don't feel so stupid, because the engine doesn't have as one of their top 3 moves. But, all right, he played knight g5. So he wants to trade these bishops, which I agree with, and he wants to play f4. So this move makes a lot of sense, actually. I traded the bishops, I kicked his knight out, and he played knight h3 because he wants to play f4. He figured if I go here and here, he should checkmate me. Not very nice, okay? And I figure I'll play on the queen's side in Benoni style, and he played e5. God damn. So he wasn't messing around. Now the idea, which we've seen many times over the years, is if I take, he plays f5. And the reason to play e5 and then f5, instead of playing f5 right away, is I don't get e5 square for my knight or bishop, and it blocks the diagonal. If this pawn was here, I could play knight e5. Now he's going to attack me on the king's side. He's going to play knight e4, and, he's got a big king side attack. Okay. And the engine says this is okay for black, but it's better for white. So I just ignored him. I didn't take on e5. I played b5. Exciting. And he played b3. So he's just like, I'm rolling you up, you suck, and I'm like, no talking. I got the arbiter and everything. So this is a very exciting game. I really don't like that I played h6 and weakened my king, because when he's trying to come get me with all his pawns, I'd rather have my pawns further back. Okay, the engine says knight e8 is a good move. I took. He played f5. I took. He took back, and I played knight e8. And the engine says this is about equal, maybe slightly better for white. And he played knight e4, the point. I played knight d6, and he played knight g3. And the engine says black's doing fine here. It doesn't like knight g3. I played rook b8, which the engine plays. I want to go here and take this. He played rook e1. I played rook b4. The engine says I'm doing great here. And he took on g6, and I blundered. And we're going to vote in the chat. So this game is very complicated, where once again, the roles have reversed. It's a King's Indian, but white's trying to checkmate black on the king side, and black's trying to win on the queen side, which is unusual. And in this position, these aren't the kinds of games Yuri Shulman likes, especially when he's white. He likes to be slightly better, then clearly better, then winning, and not have any tactical issues, not have any counterplay for his opponent. He doesn't like this type of game. And here I actually blundered. Dominic gifted 10 subs. Man, he must have won a poker tournament or something. Go, Dominic. 10 subs. Hooray. Putting us over 1,900. Yes. Let's see if I can spell stats. Probably not. 1915. All right, we can get to 2,000 today if Adam Wallace shows up. All right. Time to vote in the chat. I'm only going to give you 2 moves. These are the top 2 engine moves. F takes G6 or F5. Which is the best move for black? Go 88. 88 subs. That's right. Go Dominic. Good stream. Love the format. Great. 200 Centidues, Grungewart. Come on, you came close to winning something. Hey, Dominic, is DNEGS permanently banned from Twitch, or it was a temporary ban? What's your secret, illegal, inside information? Temporary? Okay. And then my other question is the match going to happen? Are those guys going to play? It sounds like they are because they're both talking about it. Daniel's not ignoring it. So I think they are going to play. Match ain't happening? They're both trash talking on Twitter. What do you mean it's not going to happen? What? Come on. Bet the house on Doug? Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Typical internet sensation, live, typical German, never bet on the old guy. I mean, yeah, I agree, Dominic. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, I assume DNEGS is the old guy. Now I'm not so sure. What's Doug, like 35? Yeah. What's going on? We're voting on whether F5 or F takes G6 is better. Doug's only 30. Typical world's best player telling me to bet on the younger guy. Yeah. All right, here's a question for Dominic. If teams of psychiatrists analyze Doug and DNEGS, who would they say is crazier? Then who do I bet on? The truth hurts. Go vegan. Then he might have a shot. That's right. Oh, if you coached him? Yeah. I'm crazier than DNEGS? Damn. We're both vegan. That's what makes us crazy. Yeah. All right, so the correct answer is after F takes G6, the engine says black is up 1.1. So that's the right move. After F5, it says white is a little bit better. I couldn't resist F5. That looked really good. I mean, that looks great. Okay, in this position, white has an amazing move, which I didn't look at. And he also has it next move. I didn't look at it then. And that's all he was looking at. He has a very strong piece sacrifice that I didn't see. And he played another piece sacrifice, which didn't work. Okay, bishop takes h6 is the right move, which he analyzed, but I didn't. He just didn't do it. And then after takes, queen h5. Obviously, I can't move my bishop because of mate. So king g7, knight g5, and this move is really, 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 really strong. Did I say really enough? So I have to play rook f6. There's no other move. And then rook takes f5 is good. Knight takes f5 is good. Knight f7 is good. And he couldn't calculate all the complications. The reason is my rook has to stay here to stop knight here check, which wins my queen and mates me. And so I can't defend this pawn, so he can take that pawn either way. The engine says this. I can't take the rook because knight check and checkmate. So I have to play queen g8, it says, or queen h8. Not sure which is better. And then it says white's much better and or winning here. Over the board, it wasn't so clear to him. So I didn't see bishop h6. So instead he played a3, and I didn't want to play rook takes c4 because my knight's defending my f pawn, so I didn't want my knight to defend my rook also, which was correct. The engine wants me to play rook b6. That way I can defend here when he starts doing all those variations again, which I didn't see. I didn't see bishop h6, so I wasn't worried about it. So I played rook a4. That way I keep an eye on both pawns. And now bishop h6 is even stronger than when my rook was on b4. I don't know why. I guess the rook on a4 is really stupid. Now bishop h6 is winning, which I didn't see. He played another piece sacrifice I didn't see. Knight g5. Obviously, knight e6 is the threat, so I have to take it. He played bishop takes. Now, if he plays queen h5, then I play knight f6, stopping the mate and gaining a tempo on his queen. So he takes on g5 with the bishop. Now, if it was his turn, which it's not, he could play queen h5, and if knight f6, he could take it. Then queen here. However, that's okay. So I play queen e8, attacking his pawn. He has to play queen h5. I have to play knight f6. He has to take it. I take with the rook, so my king has an escape square. So he's not mating me, and I'm up a piece, because he sacked a piece. My king can escape, my pawn's defended, this pawn's attacked, this pawn's attacked, this pawn's attacked. And as I said, I'm up a piece. So the engine says I'm winning now. He played rook e5. I want to trade queens, I'm up a piece. He didn't want to trade queens. He attacked my rook. Here, rook g4, queen f3. Okay, now I had a very long think, and I calculated all the way to the end of the game and further, because I am up a piece, so I should win. But, you know, I got 3 isolated pawns. His rook's on the 7th rank. He's never lost a game with white in the U.S. Championship in his life. Now I'm going to tell you a funny Yuri Shulman story. Yuri Shulman at the Tulsa U.S. Championship in 2007, unless it was 2008, I think it was 2007. He won the tournament, clear first. He's the U.S. champion. Then, in one of the St. Louis U.S. Championships, I'm going to say 2012, but I'm not sure which one it was. They had a very strange format where you had 2 round-robin groups. Then when the round robinses were done, the top 2 from each group played one another, I think, unless they crisscrossed. And then the winners played each other. You know. Sort of like what's going on now in the Magnus tournament, actually. Yuri Shulman didn't lose any games in the whole tournament ever. And he made it to the matches. And he won his first match, and the next match was a draw, so he lost. So Kamsky was the champion. The reason he lost was the last game was Armageddon, and Shulman was white, and Shulman was winning. But he didn't win, so Kamsky drew and became the U.S. champion. And in that tournament, Shulman beat Nakamura with black in a brilliant French defense with a brilliant finish. Really nice tactic. And he did something I've never heard of. his USCF rating in that event went up 50 points, 5-0. I've never heard of somebody whose 2,700 USCF gained 50 points in a tournament. That's crazy. His performance rating was like 2970. But he still didn't win. US Championship's tough. You can win all your games, you come in second. Bam. Okay, and Yuri Shulman with white is unbeatable. You can look at every US Championship he's ever played in. It's possible this is the only game he lost with white. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. He doesn't lose with white. Also, he doesn't lose with black. And there was another US Championship in St. Louis. It's a very long story. Where he played Yasser, and Yasser was losing all of his games. Yasser lost 8 games in the tournament, maybe 9. And it was the only game Yuri won. Yuri had 1 win and like 11 draws. Yeah, that was the only game he won. But he doesn't lose, he just draws and wins. Except this game. Okay, so now I calculated the most aggressive move, even though every move wins. I wanted to win now. Those restaurants don't stay open all night. Okay. Indo Queen, what's up? Yeah, Yuri Shulman, that's right. I was playing Yuri Shulman and I both know something that most people don't know about each other. We both know that we drew every game. We drew 7 games in a row over like a period of 15 years, something like that. And then we had no draws. So after we drew every game, then he beat me, then I beat him, then he beat me. And then we haven't played since. So we had like 7 draws in a row, then we had 3 decisive games in a row. And he pointed that out to me and I said, yeah, I know. And the first decisive game, I was completely winning. And I made a blunder and I lost like 30 moves later. And the last game he beat me, he just beat me. That was terrible. Okay, so I played knight e4. And I calculated basically one line. I mean, if he does nothing, then knight e4 is good. There's only one move that I'm worried about in this position that I have to do a lot of calculation. If you watch my stream and look at my emotes and see the emote you don't have, then you'll know what it is. That's right, knife f5. That's correct. And that's what he played. Okay, but I calculated that, and my calculation was correct as opposed to the usual incorrect. And now you will know my name is the Lord. Rook takes f5, always sack the exchange. I'll actually show you a variation that didn't happen because you guys will like it. Rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen takes f5, takes, and now knight f2 check. If rook f2, mate. So he has to play queen f2, rook f2, rook f2, queen e4 check, Papa John's. All right, and black's winning, obviously. Okay, he didn't play rook g7. He played queen f5. And the reason I showed you the rook g7 line is that was his only chance to play it, because now I play bishop d4 check. I mate you, you mate me, but it's not your turn. Okay, so you're in check. The engine move is rook f2, which allows queen takes queen. When rook f2 is the engine move, that white's position's not good. The reason it's the engine move is it staves off mate the longest. So he played king h1, obviously. Knight g3 check. And now he resigned. If he takes with the pawn, which is the only legal move, then queen h6 check, and Papa John's, and mate. Resigning 2 moves before mate. Terrible. Hooray for Ben. I beat somebody good in a crazy opening. Crazy like a fox or crazy like Fox News? Nobody knows. What's funny is, if I do a King's Indian lecture, for me, it would make more sense to do it with white, because I've had white in the King's Indian a lot more than black. I have maybe in my life in FIDE rated play, I've played 20 Kings Indians, and with white, I've probably had like 150. And I've lost some games of the Kings Indian with black because that's what happens. You win, you lose. But I didn't show you those games. Go Yuri, but mainly go me. Yeah. He was mad after the game, not because he lost, but he claimed he was winning. I should have played Bishop H6, and he was right. He had a piece sack which he analyzed and decided not to play, and it won. And I didn't even see it. So when you're right, you're right. Yeah. Wait, the raid of Fortuna at Karen. I'm the one who raided Fortuna. She told me to raid somebody else. No, she likes Fortuna like I do, but I've known Fortuna since before he was born. What's funny is, even though I use that joke a lot, when we went to the bank for banking reasons, Wesley Berger told the banker that he knew me before I was born, and he wasn't kidding. God damn. That was a true story. So, yeah, before I had been born, Wes knew my mom and dad, so before I was born. Love the raid. That's right. Well, we have some funny at camp. Yeah. Go Kings Indian. Go, etc. Go like a pro. Papa John's. Yeah. So that's all the games that I prepared. And I started the lecture like 10 minutes early. So it's good to end it 10 minutes late. Wait. So I'll explain some of the general considerations of the King's Indian for black. One of them is you don't want to get a symmetrical position. You want to get some, well, let's play D6. You want to get some position where you're hoping the better player wins and that the battle and the trading will happen later in the game. Some King's Indians, they don't trade ever. Never. Everybody's doing what they want to do. So what I'll do now, since we have a lot of time, is I'll show you one of my favorite King's Indian games that was not mine. In fact, it's probably quicker to do it on the internet instead of in ChessBase. On chess games, chessgames.com, they have names for games. They'll say, make some kind of pun. This one, I like the pun. That's actually a funny pun. It's their first one that I liked. Okay, I found the right game. It's a game Kasparov won with black against Jeroen Piquet. And it says crossing the picket line. He did cross the picket line, it's true. Maybe Kasparov had a scab. All right. Chat won't get that joke. All right, this is one of my favorite King's Indian games that I oft think of when I'm playing the King's Indian, then I blunder all my pieces. And the reason I like the King's Indian, this game a lot, is because of the last move. Otherwise, the game is just typical. When Kasparov plays black in a King's Indian, he would often just roll his opponents over Nakamura style, but even better than Nakamura. That's possible. Because Nakamura has his brilliant win against Gelfand and many others, but mainly Gelfand. And others too, but Gelfand. What's funny is Aronian and Nakamura have great King's Indians where they both win. Even the same game. Like Nakamura rolls him up on the king side and wins. The next game, Aronian rolls up Naka on the queen side and wins. They're just great games. They're just great. They've both won many games in King's Indians against each other. Aronian, white against Naka. Okay. So this is Piquet and Kasparov. Looks like a King's Indian. Now, if you remember, which you don't, this is the first game that I showed you with Bob Schiaffoni. And Bob played knight to d2, which is one of the main moves. Piquet played knight to e1, which is the other main move. Knight d7 to play f5. Bishop e3, hoping the knight doesn't go to c5 later. f5 wants to play f4. This is just, it's all theory. The whole game is theory. Okay, everybody does what they want. Everybody Wang Hao tonight. Rook f7 is typical. It defends c7, so this doesn't happen. And you want to play bishop f8, defending your pawn, and then rook g7 and mate your opponent. Typical King's Indian stuff. Always play bishop f8. And now he played g4. So Paquette played knight b5 with the idea of taking on a7 or playing knight c7, but the knight on c3 was defending the pawn on e4. So now Kasparov can play g4, and if the f pawn takes, we can take the e4 pawn, which is advantageous to black. And every move up until now, the engine's like, yay, go white pieces, because it likes white in the King's Indian. After g4, now it says it's equal. So in positions like this, where it says equal, that's going to be good for black. Because who's going to defend against Kasparov? Not me. I mean, now I will, but not then. Knight c7, that's the engine move. g3, Kasparov gets connect 4, just in case they're playing that game. And now Paquette made the losing move according to the engine. The engine says h takes, f takes, bishop takes, knight h5, all zeros. Why is it all zeros? I don't know. But Paquette's favorite song at the time, this game was played 30 years ago, was The Rook, the Rook, the Rook was on fire. And he took the Rook. Bam. And this game was annotated not only by Kasparov, but also by Consuela. And Consuela said, no. Okay, now, in this position, if I was black, I would almost certainly think about taking this bishop and then taking this knight. And then I wouldn't have any attack, but I'd have 2 pieces for a rook. Okay, and that's not terrible. There's nothing wrong with that. But Kasparov plays the best move. He plays knight h5, putting in an h. He don't care about this knight. He wants to play queen h4, queen h2 mate, Papa John's. And if I play queen h4 and you play h3, I'll just take it. So Paquette's got to watch it. Okay? Paquette played the best move, the only move. King h1. Typical King's Indian move. The idea is if you play queen h4, then bishop g1. Okay? So queen h4, bishop g1, and the engine says white's winning. Black can't, get any further. And if you take this, threatening knight g3 mate, then I go back to f2, and this pawn blocks all of my attack. And black's not going to crash through because the knight on e1 defends the g pawn. This pawn stays here. White's already up a rook, and here comes white. The engine says black resigns. So king h1 is typical. We don't want to allow bishop g1, so he took the bishop. Rook takes f2, knight g3 check. Probably when Kasparov was in his prime, it wasn't a good idea to play him. Okay? Because he won like Magnus, except he would win. That's the difference. And he would win easily. Okay? When Magnus wins, it's move 97. Magnus has 2 seconds left. His opponent hangs a rook. And then the other games are draws. Okay? When Kasparov wins, you play 20 moves of theory, and on move 28, you resign. That's what happened when you play Kasparov. Kasparov didn't mess around. Okay, this move is forced mate, so he didn't do that. And then mate. I mate you. Mate. Checkmate. So he played king g1. All right, finally Kasparov took the knight, which is correct. Again, if you take and I take, my queen comes back here, my knight comes to f4, Papa John's. So he played bishop c4. And now Kasparov made an amazing move here. The reason it's amazing is who would play this move? Not you. And it's the best move. It's the engine move. This is an engine move that no human would play except Kasparov. Man, Kasparov was good. Magnus would probably resign here. He'd still win the match somehow. Chess 24 would declare that he wins the match. By declaration, Magnus wins. Okay, but Kasparov actually had to play good moves to win. Yeah. Brian Rampage is correct, as other people. A6. Okay, got to get that queen to that diagonal. God damn. Good diagonal. A6 is the engine move. Now, Black's winning. Black's actually up material here. And Black has a big attack. And White's queenside play is, shall we say, shallow and pedantic. Queen D3, not a good move. Queen A7. B5 with the idea of B6. So he takes it. And then the finishing touch. The touch of death. What was the final move of the game? Confusing Paquette, but not the audience. Anybody? What was the final move of the game? Yeah, Gab does it. Bishop B5, knight E2. Bishop B5, queen B5. You think because the queen is further away from E2 that it can't go there anymore? Like, when the queen's next to E2, you can't play knight E2. But if the queen moves away from E2, is that what you're saying? Because, two people said it. Come on. Right. Knight H1. I like that game because Kasparov played queen A8 and knight H1. Now, the first 16 moves of that game were theory, with White being better, and then 12 moves later, he's like, where'd my pieces go? Why am I mated? Truth hurts. Yeah, Kasparov was a good King's Indian player. My King's Indian games weren't so crisp. And also, my opponents were rated 2,000. Paquette was second best player in the Netherlands for 10 years. Timon was almost always better, if not always. Paquette has beaten Kasparov. In fact, if I remember correctly, and I don't, Paquette beat Kasparov in a drawn rook and 4 versus rook and 3. The spoiler would have been that Paquette had the 3, but that's not true. Would have been a good spoiler. Yeah. That is cool. Yeah. And then after the game, Patricia Arquette walked up to Kasparov and said, "You're so cool. You're so cool. You're so cool." True romance. What happens next? White resigned. Well, we got this action going on. So the best move is takes, and Black is up a piece. Black has 3 minor pieces and White has 2. So now, according to you guys, Black's only up a piece, but that's at the Super Grandmaster level. That's too much. So after knight H1, he resigned. Then he quit chess and he went to work for a billionaire. Man, that was all true. Everything I said was true. Can't make that up. That's true romance. That is correct. Mate doesn't follow. Black's just going to be up a piece. See, when you're up a piece, that's good. Down a piece, that's bad. Always quit chess. Right, it was very similar. Paquette and Laudier quit chess around the same time, I think. They're about the same strength. Probably Laudier was better than Paquette. It's close. And Laudier was better. Joël Lautier. Laudier still. That is correct. Yeah. Karpov. That's correct, Centipede. He was down a piece, but he was up a pawn. That's right. This game was played in 19 Dickety. No Dickety. Got to bag it up. 1989 in Tilburg. 1989. Man, Kasparov was good in 89. God damn. 26 years old? That's a good Kasparov. And so forth. Why not Rook C2? Rook C2 is the same. You lose the exchange. You're down a piece. I take that. Seatsboy86 subscribed. Good. Yeah. I'd rather be down a piece than up a piece. Makes me feel better when I win. Yeah, that's something. Yeah. Whatever happens here, these pieces will get traded one way or the other, and Black will be up a bishop. Up a bishop is good. Adnan crushed Laudier. Beautiful game. Go Ben. Fischer's King's Indian. Until 2018. Didn't Van Ostrom die around 2018? What? Right, I thought Van Ostrom died around 2018. Maybe he died longer ago than that. Yeah, if you've heard of the Melody Amber tournaments and you haven't, Van Ostrom was the sponsor, and that was his daughter's name, Melody Amber. Now she's like in her 20s. But when she was a baby, they decided to have a tournament named after her. That's why his contract was completed? Well, I guess, yeah. Kasparov is definitely one of the 5 best players of all time, along with Fischer, Morphy, and Karpov. Possibly Carlsen's number 5. I'll have to think about it. It's either Carlsen or Leko. You guys on my stream over the last week were like, Leko this, and Ezekiel that, and Jebediah this, and Leko, and wow, Lako's good. And then Leko came in last place. I'm not saying he's not good, but you guys had effusive praise for Leko, and he came in last. I'm not saying he's not great, but I mean, he came in last. Sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah. Capablanca, yeah, Ezekiel 25:17. That's right. Yeah. Yay, brainwashed by Ben. Good, good. 200 centidues, Reverend Lovejoy reference. That's right. No, the best Bible jokes on The Simpsons was when the kids were foster kids and they were taken to the foster home, which was Flanders next door, and they were playing bombardment of Bible questions. And whenever they asked a question, Bart and Lisa are like, I don't know. And he's like, come on, that's easy. And they're like, Jesus? And he goes, Jesus? And then he starts giving all these clues in the answer, and it's all, Rehoboam. It's just all nonsense. So, he got him good, Flanders. Let's see. If I was Flanders, what would I be thinking? I wear the same stupid sweater every week to the Springfield River. All right, time to go home. Also, etc. Thanks for watching the stream. Thanks for donating. Thanks for liking the King's Indian. We've streamed almost 2 hours. That's exhausting. And I'll see you tomorrow. My stream on Thursdays is from 5 to 7. And then I assume Karen will stream before and or after me, whichever's funnier. Now I got to get home because I got to finish up season 10 of Curb. I'm right there in the middle. I'm doing great. Yeah. Ivanchuk, he's old like me. Yeah. All right, see you guys tomorrow. I stream at 5. Bye.